There's a truly seismic shift happening right now in the U.S. justice system. It's fundamentally reshaping how we view accountability for things that happened in the past.
Absolutely.
These recent pardons for January 6th defendants, plus, the personnel changes we're seeing at the FBI and DOJ, they really signal a powerful reevaluation of the Capitol breach itself.
Quite a turnaround.
Right. This is an administration that strongly champions law enforcement, yet is closely scrutinizing the
very agents, the prosecutors, who led what was the largest criminal investigation in American history.
Which raises some big questions.
Exactly. Was the initial government response,
So today, we'll dig into those claims, the claims of a justice system maybe out of sync with constitutional principles, and look at the real impact of these huge changes, both on the people who served and, of course, those who were charged. Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your guide, ready to help navigate the complexities in our sources. Today, we're plunging right into the evolving story and the legal fallout surrounding January 6th. Our goal here is to really unpack the facts from our sources, understand the key events, the controversies,
and what these significant developments might mean for you.
And I'm here to help connect those dots for you.
Yeah.
Our sources, they really lay out a wide spectrum of information. You've got everything from
just how big was the initial January 6th investigation?
Well, the data we've looked at makes it pretty clear. This was, without question, the largest criminal probe in U.S. history.
The largest ever.
Ever. We're talking about an effort involving over 5,000 FBI employees. Just think about that.
Wow.
And the number of people charged, it just kept climbing. It was 725 by the end of 2021. Then it went over 1,000 by the second anniversary. Hit 1,200 by the third.
Just kept growing.
Kept growing. Reached 1,500 before the fourth anniversary. And what's really striking is,
even though 3/4 of those people had already been found guilty, the Justice Department was still trying to secure guilty pleas in about 300 more cases when our source material was compiled.
That's just an incredible...
Prosecution right across the board, from people who just walked into the Capitol to those involved in much more serious acts. It was clearly a massive prioritization of federal resources.
To charge and convict as many as possible.
Right, sending a strong message about how serious they viewed the events at that time.
So given that enormous scale, what did these cases actually look like day to day? What kind of charges were most people facing? And what were the sort of typical outcomes?
Yeah, well,
the majority actually faced misdemeanor counts.
Okay.
Things like demonstrating in the Capitol, disorderly conduct, being in a restricted building, disruptive activity, that kind of thing.
But not all
community service, the whole range.
And was there one particular charge that stood out?
Yeah, one key felony charge was obstructing an official proceeding. That became pretty central in a lot of cases. The Supreme Court did clarify it later.
How so?
They specified it required actual intent to stop the electoral certificates from being counted, not just, say, forcibly getting into the building.
Okay, a higher bar.
A higher bar, yeah. But even with that clarification, over 150 people had already been convicted or pleaded guilty to that
specific charge.
So we've got the scale, the types of charges, but it's often the individual stories that really bring it home. Can you give us a few specific examples from the sources that
illegal. Convicted of felony civil disorder, he knocked a Capitol Police officer unconscious, actually instigated a breach. Pretty clear violence there.
Definitely.
And here's a really odd one. Justin Lee threw a smoke bomb at police, found guilty of civil disorder, assaulting police, and then, believe it or not, became a Maryland police officer for 3 months before he was arrested for his January 6th actions.
Wait, he became an officer after the riot, but before being arrested for it?
Exactly.
What a twist.
Wow. Any others? Maybe on the higher end of sentencing?
Yeah, absolutely. Guy Reffitt, he showed up with a holstered handgun, body armor, and apparently threatened to drag Speaker Pelosi out.
It certainly does. So, okay, we understand the initial phase, huge investigation, various charges, wide range of sentences, but now, what's happened to all those people already charged or convicted? The sources describe some really big recent developments.
Yeah, this is where the whole narrative takes a sharp turn. On January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued a full, complete, and unconditional pardon
For everyone.
for over 1,000 individuals convicted or charged with federal offenses related to the Capitol attack.
But, and this is important, there were specific exceptions.
Like who?
14 individuals, including well-known members of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. You know, groups seen...
Unexpected. No, our sources are clear. This action fulfilled President Trump's campaign promises. He said he'd pardon people involved if he got reelected, and he did.
Okay, so you have this sweeping act of clemency, these pardons and commutations, but it wasn't just about the defendants, right? Our sources suggest this sent ripples through the DOJ and FBI themselves. What about new appointments, internal changes?
Oh yeah, the administration moved very quickly. They appointed Ed Martin, a conservative activist, as the U.S. pardon attorney.
Okay.
And crucially,
Director of a new weaponization working group. The name itself tells you a lot.
Weaponization Working Group. What's its job?
Its stated task is reviewing improper
So that's a significant appointment. What else?
well, sources detail a major reshaping at the operational level too. 3 prosecutors, people directly involved in J6 cases, were abruptly fired.
Fired.
Yes, and get this. 2 groups of anonymous FBI agents, plus the FBI Agents Association, are actually suing the Justice Department.
Suing their own department. Why?
To prevent their names from being publicly released, they're citing real concerns about retaliation, even violence against them, potentially from some of the people who are just pardoned.
That speaks volumes about the internal climate.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the changes go higher up, too. Key FBI figures were forced out. Brian Driscoll, who was acting FBI director for a bit,
Over 5,000 FBI employees who worked on the January 6th investigation.
A list.
Yes, the memo stated it was for additional personnel actions.
That sounds ominous.
It certainly caused concern. There's an internal memo from a New York FBI office official that kind of captures the mood. It notes, and I'm quoting loosely here, that, quote, good people are being walked out. Others are being targeted because they did their jobs.
Wow. Targeted because they did their job.
It aligns very directly with President Trump's campaign promise to clean house at the DOJ and
his executive order about addressing the weaponization of the federal government.
That quote really paints a picture of the turmoil. Is there anything else in the sources about the sort of human side of this, the atmosphere?
tough spot.
It sounds incredibly difficult. Is there one particular case or example that really highlights these shifts?
There is one that's pretty striking. Jerry Wise. He's a former FBI agent.
Okay, what about him?
According to police body cam footage mentioned in our sources, during the riot, he was allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at officers, calling them Nazi, Gestapo.
A former FBI agent saying that during the riot.
Yes, he was actually on trial for civil disorder, aiding and abetting assault. Then President Trump
took office, ordered his case dismissed.
Case dismissed. And now?
And now, Wise is a senior advisor for the Justice Department.
Wait, the same person. From yelling...
vivid examples of the reevaluation happening.
Okay, so we've covered the prosecutions, the pardons, the really dramatic detrimental shifts. But to get the full context for this reevaluation, we need to look back. What did people know before January 6th? What did the sources say about intelligence? Were there, as some allege, intelligence failures?
Yeah, this is a really critical piece because despite the huge investigation that happened after, our sources indicate that both the FBI and DHS's intelligence office, INA, they received, quote,
large amounts of intelligence beforehand, suggesting potential violence.
Large amounts, not just chatter.
Apparently not just vague chatter. We're talking specific threats. Storm the Capitol.
Identified no credible or verified threat.
Despite receiving these warnings.
That's the contradiction highlighted in the sources. Only two kind of limited raw intelligence reports went out from field offices the night before, and even those had restricted distribution.
Why? Any reasons given?
Well, a couple of things are mentioned. The FBI's ability to monitor social media was apparently hampered. They had a contract change just days before, forcing analysts to manually sift through info instead of using tools.
Bad timing.
Very bad timing. And the DHS Intelligence Office, INA, they were apparently experiencing a
chilling effect. They've been criticized for their monitoring during the 2020 racial justice protests, so analysts were reportedly hesitant to report aggressively on J6 stuff.
Like an inauguration would be.
Exactly. An NSSE designation triggers much higher coordinated security and intelligence sharing across all federal agencies. Without that clear framework, even the intelligence that was collected might not have been properly shared or acted on by everyone who needed it.
So if we tie this all together, how do the recent pardons, the personnel purges, how does that interact with these stories about alleged intelligence failures and who was accountable back then? It sounds like a clash of narratives.
It's a definite clash. What the sources show is a clear pattern of, well, blame shifting among the agencies right after January 6th.
Finger pointing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It suggests the investigators themselves might have been the problem.
It suggests the institutions tasked with security might have been overzealous or misdirected or politically motivated in their response after the event. So you have this powerful tension between that immediate, huge prosecutorial reaction we talked about and this current, ongoing reevaluation of January 6th, its causes, its consequences, and whether the initial response was just.
It really does raise fundamental questions
about whether those initial actions were entirely
justified or maybe in some instances went too far. That's the debate now.
We have certainly navigated a complex deep dive today. We've looked at the unprecedented scale of the first
What we've really seen today is this deep tension, isn't it, between that immediate, massive prosecutorial response and then this later reevaluation marked by clemency, by pardons, and these really significant personnel shifts within the agencies themselves.
Yeah.
And this ongoing reinterpretation, it brings up these fundamental questions, about the right balance between security, individual liberty, and how government power is used.
So here's something for you to consider. As these different narratives keep evolving, how might
These competing views on what constitutes justice or security continue to reshape not just how we understand history, but also how the institutions meant to uphold those ideals actually function in the future?